Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Arroyo Seco Baseball, California Collegiate League matchup between the visiting Academy Barons, the team that is currently standing in last place with a 9-23 overall record in the CCL. They're coming all the way out here to Jackie Robinson Memorial Field to play the Arroyo Seco Saints, who currently sit at 16-15. They occupy that fourth place spot, but as I've mentioned a few times on previous broadcasts, in that third place spot, the San Luis Obispo Blues, they will not be going to the playoffs, so the Saints have already clinched their trip to the postseason. Now, real quick, before the first pitch is thrown, let's throw it over to my partner, Mitch LaFave, for the starting lineup of the Academy Barons.
Thank you, Matt. Leading off for the Barons, the designated hitter, Trent Anderson. Batting second, the shortstop, Christian Lucio. Batting third, Basil Williams Jr. He is in center field. Batting cleanup, Logan Pollock at third base. Batting fifth, the first baseman, Jalen Hurd. Batting sixth at catcher, Jacob Shanks. Batting seventh, Kendall Pettis, he's in right field. Batting eighth, Sean Blandino, he's in left. And rounding things off is Eddie Davis at second base.
And they'll be facing off against Michael Garza, the righty wearing number 5 for the Saints today. First pitch from him coming at 6:03 p.m. Missed inside for ball 1. That's Trent Anderson, the DH, at the plate. The 1-0 also misses, so the count quickly moves to 2-0. In one of Garza's last outings, it was against the Conejo Oaks. He went 3 innings, gave up 3 hits, 1 run. It was earned. And he struck out 3. So a good outing. That was last Sunday, as the 2-0 to Anderson finds the strike zone. Little off-speed action on the outside part of the plate. And the count moves to 2-1.
And you mentioned the Saints clinching the final playoff spot. That was because their magic number was 3.
As a ground ball over to Gonzalez at third, he fields it, throws it over the head of Durkee over there at first base, and Anderson will advance over to second base as the ball goes out of play. So Anderson on board thanks to the throwing error by the third baseman, Jason Gonzalez, moves over to second base, and there's a runner in scoring position with no one out already. Sorry about that, Mitch. Go ahead.
The magic number was 3 coming into Tuesday's game against the Foresters. The Saints lost, but so did the Oaks, so that made the magic number 2. And then last night, over at the Academy, the Saints were victorious in that matchup, so that pushed the magic number to 1. And then the Oaks once again lost last night, so clinched.
So the Saints are playoff bound. In fact, the 3 playoff teams are locked in. Since I mentioned the Blues will not be going to the playoffs out of choice. So it'll be the Foresters, the Riptide, and the Saints in this season's CCL playoffs, as the 1-0 is swung on and missed by Christian Lucio, the shortstop for the Barons, wearing number 5. Today, the Saints are wearing their all-white uniforms with those blue pinstripe on the side of the jerseys. Blue hat with a gold brim. As for the Barons, they're in all gray with blue accenting, blue numbers, and the blue Barons logo on their chest as the 1-1 to Lucio misses high and outside for ball 2. Garza, the 6'5" righty out of Incarnate Word, just finished his freshman year there. Only had 9 appearances. Delivers the 2-1. It's cracked high in the air into left field. Tracking back is Russell. He gets underneath it, makes the catch. Tagging up and heading towards third and beating the throw easily is Anderson. So Anderson advances to 90 feet away from scoring the very first run of the game with only 1 down here in the top of the first.
And that ball kept carrying on Russell. There's a pretty decent breeze blowing out to left field, and it kind of just took the ball in its grasp, and he just kept tracking back on it.
If you look on your screen, you can see that American flag and the California flag blowing out there to left field, just like Mitch said, as the first pitch to Basil Williams Jr. is swung on and missed for strike 1. Williams Jr., the center fielder, wearing number 23 for the Barons. The 0-1 from Garza in the dirt, ball 1. Now the 1-1, inside and a little low, ball 2, and the count moves to 2-1 to Basil. Williams Jr. listed as undecided as for his school, as the 2-1 is swung on and missed. The count moves to 2-2. If I'm not mistaken, his last season of play was at Mississippi State. As the 2-2 misses low and outside for ball 3, and it's a full count. Full count pitch, grounder over towards short. Cowley fields it, will throw on to 1, and that's out number 2. But coming home to score is Trent Anderson, and it's 1-0 Barons.
Yeah, the Saints on that one deciding that they would trade in a run for an out, the entire infield playing back.
And, you know, you see that a lot early in games, especially in summer ball, you know. A lot of times the teams are okay giving up a run or two because they know it's summer ball. You're going to see a bunch of different pitchers, and you're most likely going to be able to put some runs up against some of them. So the Saints are going to have to put some runs up if they want to win this game now that the Barons put 1 on the scoreboard. First pitch to Logan Pollock finds the strike zone. Count moves to 0-1. The 0-1 misses that low and outside for ball 1. You know, something my coaches always used to say to me when we would come back into the dugout after giving up a run, they'd always say, well, we had to score 1 to win anyways. Now we got to score another one. Pollock swings through the 1-1. Count moves to 1-2. I always liked that logic. We had to score 1 anyways. It's not that big of a deal. They scored a run. We had to get 1 if we wanted to win this one, so let's just do it. 1-2 to Pollock. Swung on, chopped foul into the fencing behind him, and count remains 1-2.
And with the way the Saints offense has been really the majority of the season, 1 run I would hope would not be a problem.
Well, this Saints offense, you mentioned, they've been able to put up a whole lot of runs, but they do it in a weird fashion. You know, they're very hot and cold, very streaky as the 1-2 is swung on, chopped foul out of play down the right field line. As I was saying, sorry about that, the Saints offense a little streaky. In the game against Conejo on Sunday, they scored 10 runs in 3 innings. As the 1-2 is swung on and missed by Pollock, that'll send him down swinging, and that's out number 3 in the top half of the first inning. So we'll head to the bottom half of the first. Barons up 1-0. We'll see if the Saints can counter. Don't go anywhere. You listen to Saints Baseball on YouTube Live, the broadcast home of Arroyo Seco Baseball. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the bottom half of the first inning. Barons lead this one 1-0. Let's throw it over to Mitch Lefebvre for the starting lineup of the Arroyo Seco Saints.
Leading things off for the Saints, Anthony Forte. He's in right field. Batting second, Morgan Allen at second base. Batting third, the shortstop, Drew Cowley. Batting cleanup, the designated hitter, Thomas Lovano. Batting fifth, Pete Durkee. He's at first base. Batting sixth, the third baseman, Jason Gonzalez. Batting seventh, Evan Russell. He's in left field. Batting eighth, Thomas McCarthy. He's behind the plate. And batting ninth is Christian Scott in center.
And they will be facing off against Larry Barabino III, wearing number 11 for the Academy Barons. First pitch from him to Anthony Forte misses outside for ball one. In between innings, there was a little bit of a controversy because of the color of Barabino's glove, as the 1-0 is chopped towards second base. Diving and getting his glove on it is Davis, but it kicks into center field, so Williams Jr. comes up with that one, and that's a leadoff single for Anthony Forte. But yeah, as I was saying, there was a little bit of controversy over the color of the glove on the mound there for Barabino, because actually, Mitch, since you know a little bit more about this rule than I do, I'm going to ask you to explain.
So the rule is that as a pitcher, you're not supposed to have a light colored glove, whether it's tan or like a grayish white like Barabino has on the mound. It has to do with deception.
Bunt laid down foul down the third base line. Pollock walks over, picks it up with his bare hand, and will throw it in to the catcher as a new ball is tossed out to Barabino.
So it kind of has something to do with deception. If a pitcher is good enough, he can kind of hide the ball behind the glove for as long as he can. And I guess there's another part of the rules, not supposed to have like a two-tone glove where they're brightly contrasting colors as well. So, but the Saints, the coaches are like, nah, we don't really care that it's a gray glove.
0-1 to Allen inside, and he says it hits him on the elbow guard, and the umpire says yes, sir. Sends him down to first base, and that's a hit by pitch. So the first two batters are on for the Saints, and that'll bring up Drew Cowley with no one out here and two runners on in the home half of the first inning. Now, I had heard about the rule for pitchers where they're not allowed to have like a white arm sleeve on underneath, like white long sleeves underneath, or even armbands or compression sleeves. I've heard that you can't wear those. I had never heard about the glove rule, but it makes sense. As the first pitch from Barabino is high and inside for ball one. Cowley at the plate. Got the start at shortstop today for the Saints. The 1-0 from Barabino misses a little low, a little outside for ball two. Barabino opting to wear sunglasses on the mound. And I can't really fault him. We've talked so many times about the sun placement here at Jackie Robinson Memorial Field. The sun is placed literally dead center behind home plate. It can be really brutal on the pitchers out there, as the 2-0 is left a little too high. I mean, by a little, it was very high. And the count was to 3-0.
And also about the sun, not only is it directly behind home plate, at this time of day, it's pretty much almost level with the eyes of all the players out there. So it can be brutal.
We've seen a couple of mistakes from the infielders because of that sun, and that's something that you usually don't see. Ground balls getting away from a second baseman or a shortstop just because they can't quite even find out where the ball's been hit. You've seen that a few times this season as the 3-0 found the strike zone. So now Barabino, number 11, the 3-1. Swung on, popped high in the air. That's into left field. Coming forward and making the grab is Blandino. The runners will stay put for the Saints, and that's out number one. So that'll bring up Thomas Lovano, the designated hitter for the Saints today, wearing number 15. Let's move to the defensive alignment for the Academy Barons. On the mound is Larry Barabino. He's pitching to Shanks behind the plate. Hurd is at first base, Davis at second, Lucio at short, Pollock at third, Blandino in left, Williams Jr. in center, and Johnson rounding things off in right field. Barabino gets his sign, looks at the runner on second, throws a breaking ball, and it's cut straight back by Lovano. So count moves to 0-1. Something interesting that Mitch pointed out right before this game is Trent Anderson, the DH for the Barons, usually gets the start at second base when the Barons are here, but he got the start at designated hitter. Davis starting in place of him at second base. That's Eddie Davis, wearing number 2, as the 0-1 misses for ball 1. The 1-1 from number 11, taking off his Forte towards third. Allen stayed put on first base. Forte steals third base easily. So it's runners on the corners for the Saints here with a 2-1 count to Thomas Lovano.
And I want to say it was sort of unintentional misdirection because Morgan Allen had a really late break on the steal, and then he decided, because it was such a late break, he was just going to hold up at first. And Forte had a great jump at second, so Shanks was going to throw down to second to try and get Allen, who had that late jump. And then with Allen stopping, he just had nowhere to throw.
So it ended up working. Forte standing on third base. Allen still standing over there at first base. I can't imagine he's going to go on the next pitch or two because, he just showed steal. The 2-1 was fouled straight back, so it's a 2-2 count now to Lovano. And with Barabino being a lefty, it's very hard to get a sizable lead and a good jump over there at first base. As he goes towards home plate this time, Lovano fouls it off out of play down the right field line, and the count remains 2-2.
We saw it during the break, another standoff, national anthem standoff going on. That happened the last time you and I called the game, last Thursday against Santa Barbara. And it's happening once again.
Only one player from each team this time. As Allen takes off for second base, Lovano fouls it straight back. Good job defending his runner there. That was the perfect pitch for the catcher Shanks to pop up and gun Allen down at second base. Lovano just fouled it straight back, stays alive. Allen jogs right back to first base. So once again, runners on the corners here, one down. Saints are trailing 1-0 here in the home half of the first inning. Larry Barabino, the third, on the mound for the Barons, pitching to Thomas Lovano with a 2-2 count. And now a pickoff attempt over towards first base. Allen just walks back and steps back on the bag safely.
Allen looked like he was kind of anticipating that pickoff. He didn't have that big of a lead and was really heading back before the throw even hit it over there.
Allen takes off. Lovano swings, lines this one into left center field. That'll touch grass. As coming home to score is Forte, rounding third, and also coming home to score is Allen. And Lovano's in there with a 2 RBI double to put the Saints up 2-1 here in the home half of the first. Beautifully
Executed play. 2 strikes, runner goes, so Lovano has the option to swing if it's going to be a strike. That it was, and rips it to the gap. And because Morgan Allen was on the move, came in home standing up easily.
So now Pete Durkee, the first baseman out of Tennessee, comes to the plate. Mostly played catcher with the University of Tennessee. First pitch to him, he swings, lines this one into right field. It'll drop in front of the right fielder. Rounding third and coming to the plate and beating the throw easily is Lovano from second base. And now the score is 3-1 in favor of the Saints. So Pete Durkee, following the 2 RBI double from Lovano, drives him in with an RBI single of his own, and still with only 1 down here in the home half of the first inning. It's already 3-1 Saints. A little bit of a confrontation between Lovano and the home plate umpire, it appeared.
Baseman number 16, Jason Gonzalez.
And they took a run off the scoreboard, but I can't imagine anything that Lovano said would negate the run he just scored. Either way, it brings up Jason Gonzalez, the man from Vanderbilt.
They also put an out on the scoreboard. I think they called Lovano out for something. They said he did not step on third base.
So they will retract a run. And it takes away an RBI from Pete Durkee. So the score remains 2-1 in favor of the Saints, or rather I should say changes to 2-1 in favor of the Saints after Livono didn't touch third base. That's where the second out comes from. And the 1-0 to Gonzalez misses lone inside for ball 2.
It's really an unfortunate situation for the Saints. 3-1 lead with just one out in the first, and not only does the lead get reduced, but with the out on the board, it's going to take a lot more to get that run home from first.
The 2-0 is swung on by Gonzalez, pops high in the air, tailing towards out of play. It'll land in play, but in foul territory, as Johnson didn't feel like tracking that one down. Count moves to 2-1. I wasn't watching Livono too closely as he rounded third base, but it looked to me as if he did it, according to fundamentals. It looked like he rounded the bag perfectly, touched the bag, but it's possible he completely whiffed as the 2-1 misses high and outside for ball 3. And that could be why Livono had some choice words for the home plate umpire.
When there are three base umpires in this game, typically we just see 2, and maybe Livono, he might have just been incidental that he missed, but there is an extra set of eyes looking at the base, and so I think, just got caught.
So after Livono got caught not stepping on third base, Durkee now moves over to second base thanks to the walk to Jason Gonzalez as the 3-1 missed high and outside, and it brings up Evan Russell, another Tennessee player. Got the start in left field today. He came in at the exact same time as Pete Durkee. Both of those guys arrived for the Saints a couple weeks ago at this point. First pitch to Russell. Barabino misses outside for ball 1, and he's noticeably a little confused with that call. I don't really blame him. It looked like that one caught the outside part of the plate. Umpire disagrees, so it's 1-0 the count.
And with Russell in the lineup, it's actually all 3 Tennessee players in the lineup at one time.
The 1-0 high for ball 2. Yeah, I looked at the original lineup card, and it listed Pete Durkee in right field. So I was getting kind of excited over the prospect of a complete Tennessee outfield here. But then they moved Durkee back to first base, which makes more sense, to be honest. Either way, 2 of the 3 outfielders getting the start for the Saints are from the University of Tennessee. That's Christian Scott in center field, Evan Russell in left field. Russell's the one at the plate right now. And after the 1-0 miss to make the count 2-0, timeout is called, and the assistant coach for the Barons goes out there to have a quick chat with Larry Barabino on the mound. And Evan Russell will step back up to the box. The 2-0. Russell watches it miss inside for ball 3. And Barabino is having some trouble finding the strike zone.
Interesting choice on 2-0, going with the breaking ball rather than the typical fastball.
The 3-0 fastball lined to right center field. That will drop. Rounding third and coming home to score easily is Durkee. Following him is Gonzalez as he rounds third. And standing up safely at second base with a 2 RBI double is Evan Russell. So we've seen two RBI doubles this inning as the score moves to 4-1 in favor of the Saints. That'll bring up Thomas McCarthy, the 8-hole hitter, also playing behind the plate.
Now batting for the Saints.
Wearing number 33 for the Saints.
Thomas McCarthy.
Russell swinging on 3-0. Don't see that a lot, but coming into this game, only batting .203. So I think he saw that 3-0 pitch as one of the best he might see this whole night. Want to try and get his numbers up.
Well, that might be one of those moments where you're going, no, no, no. Oh, okay. Just because 3-0, usually, like you said, you don't see a swing at that usually, as the first pitch to McCarthy finds the strike zone. But I don't think any coaches are going to complain if you put a 3-0 pitch into right center field and drive home 2 runs.
That would be some coach if they did.
I don't think there's really any warrant to complain. Obviously, they swung at 3-0 as the 0-1 misses high and outside for ball 1. But even still, if your coach comes up to you and says, and starts yelling at you for swinging at that 3-0, all you have to say is, I just drove in 2 for you, coach. Barabino is noticeably struggling with the sun out there. Taking off towards third base as McCarthy lines this one into shallow left field. That one drops. Coming home to score is Russell. And McCarthy has an RBI single, and it's 5-1 in favor of the Saints. So the Saints offense exploding here in the first inning. Christian Scott, the 9th hitter, will come up to the plate. 5 runs already home. He's got another runner standing on first base, and the catcher, Thomas McCarthy. As Anthony Forte, the on-deck batter, will have to carry all the elbow guards from the players that have batted this inning back to the dugout. Now Barabino delivers the first pitch to Scott, misses low and outside, ball 1. And you know, with a pitcher who's struggling this much, dealing with the sun, you'd think the umpire would start giving him those just off the corner pitches, maybe even just a little bit. That one didn't miss by much. So now the 1-0. That time he gets the call from the umpire, and the count moves to even at 1. So the score right now sitting at 5-1 with 2 down here in the home half of the first inning. As the 1-1 misses low and outside for ball 2. The Saints could be up 6-1 if you're just joining us. Thomas Lovano came around to score, but his run was erased, and they ended up tacking it out up there instead because he missed third base on his way around to come home to score on Durke's single. 2-1 is swung on by Scott. It's popped up high in the air behind the shortstop, Lucio. He's tracking back and is called off by the left fielder. Blandino makes the grab, and that's an F7 to end the inning from Christian Scott. As we'll head to the top half of the second inning, the Saints countered and added way more than they needed to, as they have a 5-1 lead heading into the top half of the second inning. Don't go anywhere. You listen to Saints Baseball on YouTube Live, the broadcast home of Arroyo Seco Baseball. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the top half of the second inning. The Barons have some runs to score if they want to get back into this one. They find themselves trailing 5-1. as Garza delivers the first pitch of the inning to number 39, Jalen Hurd, the first baseman for the Barons. Garza gave up a run in the top half of the first inning, but that runner reached on the error by Gonzalez over there at third base. So it will not be charged as an earned run to him, as the 0-1 missed for ball one. Now the 1-1, breaking ball low for ball two. Garza likes to work quickly out there on the mound. He doesn't like to waste a whole lot of time. Already getting ready to throw the 2-1. Lined right over towards second base. Knocking it down is Allen. He'll pick it up with his bare hand, toss over to first in time. And Allen, with a fantastic recovery, gets the first out of the second inning.
Not only was it a great stop to keep that ball in the infield, but it bounced away from him quite a bit and having to run and then make the quick toss. Overall, a great play from Allen.
Now, real quick, the defensive orientation for the Saints. On the mound is Garza pitching to McCarthy. At first base, Pete Durkee, Morgan Allen at second, Drew Kelly at short, Jason Gonzalez at third, Evan Russell in left, Christian Scott in center, and Anthony Forte in right field. As timeout is called right before Garza's first pitch to Jacob Shanks, the catcher for the Barons. Shanks wearing number 10 behind the plate today. First pitch from Garza, breaking ball on the inside part of the plate, strike one. Now the 0-1 chopper towards the Saints dugout, bounces off the front wall and back out onto the field. Count moves to 0-2. So I briefly mentioned at the beginning of this game, the Saints are playoff bound. They've already clinched their way there, as the 0-2 from Garza is swung on, popped high in the air into center field. Coming forward is Scott. He gets underneath it and makes the one-handed grab. Now there's two down. The Saints are playoff bound. They will almost undoubtedly play the Riptide in the first round of the playoffs. A team that the Saints have definitely known to have beef with, so to speak. There's been a whole lot of arguments between those two teams, so that should be a fun matchup in the first round of the playoffs. As for the Barons, as the first pitch to Marcus Johnson is swung on and missed, the Barons have officially been eliminated from playoff contention. And this is the last time they play the Saints, as the 0-1 finds the strike zone on that inside corner. Count moves to 0-2. The 0-2 line deep left center field. This one's going to drop and two-hop the wall. Or no, Evan Russell cutting it off right before it gets to the wall. Throws it into Kelly at shortstop. And getting on board with a two-out, two-strike double to keep the inning alive is the right fielder Marcus Johnson.
A good piece of hitting down two strikes. Johnson wasn't a fan of that strike two call, but put that behind him and ripped one into the gap.
First pitch to Sean Blandino, the left fielder, wearing number 6 for the Barons. Misses for ball one. One-0 breaking ball finds the strike zone. Count moves to 1-1. Garza spent a lot of time looking Johnson back over there at second base, and you can't really blame him, especially if you're going breaking ball like he just did. Johnson getting that lead off once again. Nice secondary jump, but doesn't go anywhere as Garza misses with the 1-1. Count moves to 2-1. The 2-1. In the dirt, bounces away from McCarthy. He'll have to hustle over, is unable to pick it up with his bare hand, and advancing over to third base is Johnson. So with two down, there's a runner 90 feet away from making this a 3-run ball game with a 3-1 count to Sean Blandino. 3-1 cracked over towards shortstop. Cowley fields it, throws across the diamond in time, and that's out number 3. So the Barons leave a runner 90 feet away from scoring, and we'll head to the home half of the second inning. 5-1 the score in favor of the Saints. Don't go anywhere. You listen to Saints Baseball on YouTube Live with Matt Berner and Mitch LaFave, the broadcasting home of Arroyo Seco Baseball. Anthony Forte leading things off for the Saints here in the home half of the second inning. They've got a 5-1 lead already over the Barons. This is the last time these two teams will face off. The Saints currently lead the series 4-2, which means they've already clinched winning this series, despite dropping the first 2 games they played against the Barons. First pitch to Forte in his second at-bat. Misses low and outside in the dirt for ball 1.
And the rest of the schedule for the Saints, they play Santa Barbara tomorrow night at Santa Barbara.
That's chopped right back up the middle into center field for another leadoff base hit for Anthony Forte. He's 2 for 2 on the day with 2 leadoff singles.
Barabino almost got a glove to that one. A little frustrated on probably both that he gave up a hit and that he missed the grounder. But going back to the schedule, so Saints, they play at Santa Barbara tomorrow night. They play at Conejo Sunday afternoon, evening. Those games always start at 4:30 because they don't have lights at that field. Monday is off. Tuesday against Santa Barbara, but here and before the game at 5 o'clock, they'll actually make up and finish the game that ended early because, or I say ended before the game, before all 9 innings were completed because the lights were going to shut off. And then
that was last Thursday's game, if I'm not mistaken.
It was. And then Wednesday is a non-league game against, I believe it's the San Diego Force. And then Thursday, start of playoffs.
So playoffs right on the horizon for the Saints. 2-0 is the count to Morgan Allen, the second baseman, in his first official at-bat here. He might not get it, though, as the count moves to 3-0 after the 2-0 misses way high and outside.
I wanted to bring this up to you at the beginning of the inning. So Anthony Forte leading things off for the second inning in a row. I talked with Jack about this.
3-0 lined into left field. It'll drop for a base hit. Forte moves over to second base, and that is Morgan Allen's first official at-bat of the day as he singles and moves to 1-for-1 on the day.
So I talked with Jack about this on the broadcast on Tuesday. There was a poll that MLB, Major League Baseball, they put out. They even asked some players about this during the All-Star break. Batting around in an inning, is it 9 batters or 10 batters?
I think it's got to be 10, right?
That's, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily set in stone. That's what I believe. And the poll on Twitter that they put out had, at the time that I put in my little vote, was about 70-30 in favor of 10 batters. But out of the 30 players that they asked, it was split 50-50.
Interesting. The 1-0 popped high in the air. Callie pops it up towards third base. Pollock will make the play behind the bag over there at third, and that's out number 1 in the home half of the second. It's interesting that the split was so vastly different compared to the poll of Twitter versus the poll of the players. I feel like the players would be much more strayed towards one side.
Right. Because 9 batters, you get through the order, but the way I see it is once you get to the 10th batter, that's when you've officially batted around.
No, I agree with you, because that's when you turn the lineup over. You have officially gone around through the lineup. Now you're back over at the top, as it looks like we're going to get a pitching change here in the second inning. Larry Barabino III will exit this one. We'll let you know who the new pitcher is for the Barons when we come back. Don't go anywhere after the short break. You listen to Saints Baseball on YouTube Live, the broadcasting home of Arroyo Seco Baseball. Yuji Sakane taking the mound for the Barons as he takes over for Larry Barabino III. 2 runners on base, though, so those runners could be charged to Barabino if they come home to score. 1 down here in the home half of the second inning. Those 2 runners are Anthony Forte standing on second and Morgan Allen standing on first base. Thomas Lovano, the DH, up at the plate. Barabino's open line right now. It's not closed yet as Sakane delivers the first pitch high and outside for ball 1. The open line right now is 1 1/3, 7 hits, 1 walk, 1 hit by pitch, no strikeouts, and 5 all-earned runs. Once again, that could move to 7 if these 2 runners come home to score for the Saints.
Just a really rough outing in general for Barabino.
The 1-0 from Sakane finds that low inside corner that Garza was living on in the top half of the second inning, so the count moves to 1-1.
And I can imagine it's kind of tough, the Barons, knowing that they aren't in playoff contention and the Saints are in playoff. The Saints have already made the playoffs, so it's not like they can play spoiler in any way. So maybe motivation just isn't quite there at the end of this summer season.
It's interesting to see the attitude of both these teams as that national anthem standoff is still going on. 1-1 grounder towards first base. Hurd fields it cleanly, steps on the bag for out number 2. The runners advance, though, so it's runners on second and third with 2 down here in the second. As I was saying, the attitude, there's a very light-hearted attitude around the ballpark today, as both of these teams, you know, obviously they want to play, they want to win, but neither one of these teams really cares that greatly about the outcome of this one, because the Saints are going to the playoffs regardless, and the Barons are not regardless. So both these teams trying to get through the last few games of the regular season, get to the ones that matter. As Pete Durkee, the first baseman, comes up to the plate.
And the Barons, the guys on the team, they're right now, you know, just playing to get their final reps in. And for the Saints, it's sort of like a warm-up for the playoffs coming up.
Durkee fouls off the first pitch. He was ripped off of an RBI in the first inning. He singled, and it drove home Thomas Lovano. At least we thought at the time. Lovano missed the bag over there at third base, was called out, so the RBI was taken away from Durkee as the 0-1 misses low and outside for ball 1. He did come around to score, though, thanks to the 2 RBI double off the bat of Evan Russell. He's one of the 5 runners to score today for the Saints. The 1-1 from Sakane. Breaking ball breaks just a little too late as it misses for ball 2.
And even though Lovano was called out on Durkee's single last inning, I don't want to say it didn't matter, because the Saints definitely could have piled on more, but they still did end up, they still picked up a couple more runs after a couple straight 2-out base hits.
2-1 misses low and outside for ball 3. Yeah, you're absolutely right, because the last out of the inning was the fly ball to left field from Christian Scott. If that ball is hit with only 1 out, the order completely flips around. The Saints would have then officially batted around, as Durkee chops at this one, half swing over towards second base, fielding it and throwing over in time for out number 3 is Davis, as the throw to Hurd over there at first base barely beats out the hustling Durkee. Out number 3 in the home half of the second inning. So the Saints fail to add on more to their lead in the second. They leave 2 runners in scoring position, though, as we head to the top half of the third inning. Score is 5-1 in favor of the Saints. Don't go anywhere. You listen to Saints Baseball on YouTube Live, the broadcast home of Arroyo Seco Baseball. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the top half of the third inning. Eddie Davis to lead things off for the Barons. He's the only player in the starting lineup for the Barons yet to come to the plate. Garza delivers the first pitch to him. Davis showed bunt, pulled back, as that one missed high and inside for ball 1. If you're just joining us, the Saints have a 5-1 lead here in the top half of the third inning. The Barons put 1 up in the top half of the first, and it was immediately countered by 5 in the home half. Both teams went down scoreless in the second, though, as the 1-0 finds the strike zone. Now the 1-1 from Garza. Chopped high in the air, foul out of play down the left field line. As there's a little bit of shock on the face of Eddie Davis. I don't think he realized that he could even possibly hit a ball that angle.
Davis stands 5'7", in the box. Not, I would say, the most menacing figure.
Takes a hack at that one, goes around and misses. So he goes down swinging, and that's out number 1 in the third.
You see, it's definitely not the most menacing figure in the box, but he will be a freshman next year at Notre Dame. So while maybe small in size, he can definitely play some baseball.
That's a pretty big program to be entering into your freshman season at. So the strikeout from Eddie Davis brings up Trent Anderson, the DH. He's 0 for 1, but reached base and scored. Now he's 0 for 2 as he lines that one right at Drew Cowley, who had to make one step over to his right. Makes the glove down, and that's out number 2. So that'll bring up Christian Lucio, the shortstop. He's 0 for 1 as well on the day. He flew out to left field in the first inning. That moved Anderson over to third base. As Anderson reached on the throwing error from Gonzalez, made it all the way over to second base because the ball went out of play. Lucio moved him over to third with a fly ball, and then he scored on a ground ball off the bat of Basil Williams Jr., who could come to the plate if Lucio finds a way to extend this inning. First pitch to him, though, finds the strike zone. So Lucio sitting down 0-1. The 0-1 from Garza. In that same exact spot, count moves to 0-2. The umpire really loves that spot. Doesn't matter what side the batter is batting on, right? Whether he's righty or lefty. That one spot, it's inside and low for the right-handed batters, outside and low for the left-handed batters. Garza's been painting it. He tried to hit it once again, missed by a little bit. Kind of pats on his chest to let McCarthy know it was his fault that he missed. Count moves to 1-2. I can imagine he's probably going to try and go for that spot once again.
It's nice to know, both as a pitcher and as a batter, when an umpire is kind of calling in a certain zone. Because as a pitcher, you know that you can try and rely on that spot and get that call every time. But also as a hitter, you can think in a certain situation that you might know that the pitcher's going to try and hit that spot and look right there.
Well, all you can ask for out of an umpire is consistency. And so far, that spot has been consistently called for both teams as 1-2 is fouled straight back at us. And I officially have finally not flinched at a foul ball hit right back at me. And that comes with, what, 5 games remaining in the season? So Lucio fouls it off, stays alive. Count remains 1-2, and Garza will give him yet another 1-2 delivery. This one's lined deep right center field. Scott's going to track back towards it. Won't be able to get over to it until it bounces. So Lucio on his horse over towards second base, in there standing up with a 2-out double. So back-to-back innings, the Barons have 2-out, 2-strike doubles to keep the inning alive. Last inning it was ended by a ground out to shortstop by Sean Blandino, the left fielder. And this time it brings up Basil Williams Jr., who in his last at-bat grounded out to shortstop. So we'll see if the trend continues. As Basil, the left-handed batter, playing center field today for the Barons, steps up into the box. First pitch from Garza, takes a hack at that one, comes up empty. Count moves to 0-1. On that ground out to short in the first inning, he did pick up an RBI. Well, or rather, he did knock in a run. I'm not sure if it's credited as an RBI because Anderson reached on an error. The 0-1 finds that low part of the strike zone. Now there's 2 strikes on Williams. I wouldn't be surprised to see Garza go breaking ball on that low outside corner once again here. He tried it 3 times in a row to Lucio. Lucio finally caught on and got a hit. This time it was inside, though, as Williams Jr. grounds it over towards second base. Allen picks it up, tosses it over to Durkee over there at first for out number 3. And that's a 4-3 ground ball to end the inning. So once again, for the second straight inning, the Barons strand 1 on second base, and we'll head to the home half of the third inning. 5-1 is the score in favor of the Saints. Don't go anywhere. You listen to Saints Baseball on YouTube Live, the broadcast home of Arroyo Seco Baseball. Jason Gonzalez leading things off for the Saints here in the home half of the third inning. The third baseman wearing number 16 comes up to the plate. First pitch to him from Sakane misses high and outside for ball one. And when I say high and outside, I mean he missed by a whole lot. That's not the first time that a Barons pitcher has done that so far this game. Barabino struggled to keep the ball down and in the strike zone, and Sakane has done that a few times as well. Now the 1-0 from Sakane. That time it stays down and stays right in the strike zone as it catches the inside corner fastball for strike one. So Gonzalez, the man from Vanderbilt, steps back into the box. Sakane gets the sign out of the windup, delivers the 1-1. And Gonzalez cracks this one deep center field. Tracking back is Williams Jr. He's looking up at it and will jump and is unable to come up with it as it's over the wall and out of here. Jason Gonzalez leaves the ballpark dead center, just a little to the left of that American flag out in center field, and the score moves to 6-1 in favor of the Saints. Leadoff home run for the man from Vanderbilt.
And that was one of those situations where you got to love the weird dimensions of this ballpark. 364 to dead center. This is anywhere else, that's pretty much just a lazy fly out to center field. But, again, because of that short porch, gets out of here.
First pitch to Russell, misses for ball one. Russell with a 2 RBI double in the first inning. I'm glad you brought up the dimensions again. I like to just talk about it every broadcast, to be honest. You kind of have to, just because of how unorthodox the dimensions are here. Deepest part of the ballpark down the field, or down the line in left field. That's 374. 364 to dead center, and then 345 down the line in right field. So it gets deeper the further left you go. Russell swings at the 2-0, lines this one foul down the right field line, and the count moves to 2-1. Russell took a swing at a 3-0 pitch in his first at-bat. That brought up our discussion about whether or not coaches could be even mad at a 3-0 2 RBI double. I don't think any coaches on the Saints staff were too angry about it. I'm sure they were kind of pleased as Sakane spikes this one in the dirt. I'm not even sure if it made it all the way to the dirt. I think that might have hit the grass in front of the plate as the count moves to 3-1.
And then it bounced over Russell's head. Had that not bounced so high and gets a piece of Russell, he gets first base.
Sakane missing on both sides of the strike zone. We saw him miss very high. Now we've seen him miss very low. He'll deliver the 3-1 to Russell. He chops this one over towards third. Pollock backhands it, throws across the diamond in time, as that's a nice scoop from Hurd over there at first base for out number one. Nice glove work there from the corner infielders. Pollock having to do a nice little backhand stab to keep that one in front of him over there at the hot corner. And Hurd over there at first base looking silky smooth with the pick out of the dirt. Kind of joking with the umpire over there right now. I saw him pat his chest a little bit as if he was saying, you know, he was a little scared when it started going down, but he made the play and made it look easy. And that's one out in the third inning for the Saints, as that brings up Thomas McCarthy. He singled and drove home Russell in the first inning. First pitch to him missed, so it's 1-0 the count. Now the 1-0 to McCarthy. Sakane delivers. That one finds the strike zone. Counts even at 1. So the score now stands at 6-1 in favor of the Saints. Jason Gonzalez homered to lead things off here in this inning. Dead center. 1-1 is chopped foul down the third base line. Count moves to 1-2. I wasn't entirely sure if that ball hit by Gonzalez was going to leave the ballpark at first. I was watching Williams Jr. Usually, you know, when the balls hit that deep, you like to gauge off the outfielders. And Williams Jr. seemed to be under the impression he had that one. He was tracking back, and then finally I realized once he got to the wall and had no more room to run, that Gonzalez had left the ballpark and extended this to a 5-run ball game.
Again, if the Barons are playing at home like they were last night, I believe it's 400 to center at the MLB Academy. So he would have had lots of room to run back. And so I think just in his experience at other ballparks so far this summer, he sees that not terribly far over his head that he's got this play easy.
Yeah, that could definitely have taken into account. Now a 2-2 to McCarthy. Breaking ball misses high and outside for ball 3. It was 1-2, but Sakane missed outside for ball 2. Then McCarthy fouled one off. Now the 2-2 misses. So it's a full count to the catcher for the Saints. Full count delivery chopped right back up the middle into center field, and that's a base hit for Thomas McCarthy. So McCarthy keeps the inning alive. Even though there is only one down, he keeps the line moving, I should say, as he gets on board with one down, and that brings up Christian Scott, who's 0 for 1 on the day. Saints always have the ability to explode for more runs. Sakane trying to make sure that no one else comes home other than the home run he gave up to lead off the inning. Scott shows bunt, fouls it straight back though, and the count moves to 0-1. In the last game that I called, that was on Sunday at Conejo Oaks, the Saints had 10 runs. They had 10 by the 5th inning. Then, if I'm not mistaken, let me do the math real quick. That would be 4. 12 straight Saints were retired after that. After the Saints had put up 10 runs, 12 straight Saints were retired, as the 0-1 misses inside for ball 1. So that just is testament to how hot and cold this offense is. Granted, at that point, it was a 10-1 ball game. It's kind of hard to stay motivated to have your absolute best effort out there, as the 1-1 misses for ball 2. But it's kind of crazy to think that going into the 6th inning, the Saints had 10 runs, 9 hits, and they finished the game with 10 runs, 10 hits. So now a 2-1 to Scott, fouls it straight back. Counts even at 2 now.
And that's not the only time that we've seen the Saints either have a hot start and a cold finish, or maybe a cold start and a hot finish. The most notable one that comes to mind is that first game at Conejo, scoring 6 in the first inning and then getting shut out the rest of the ball game.
Pickoff attempt over there at first base. McCarthy back in there standing. He's in there in a much closer play than should be allowed for going back in there standing, but he's back there safely. Had a little laugh about it with his first base coach. And another pickoff attempt. This time he's back in there safely and quite easily. But yeah, no, I'm glad you brought up that Conejo Oaks game, the very first Conejo Oaks game of the season that you and I called. 6 runs in the first inning and did not score the rest of the game.
Ended up losing 7-6 in 10 innings.
And that was a long one. I believe that was a 3-hour, 20-minute game, 3.5 hour game.
Around 3.5 hours.
So
not the longest game we have called.
No. We did see a 3.5 hour, 7-inning game last Thursday as there's yet another pickoff attempt over there at first base. McCarthy's getting in his aerobics, having to jump off and back onto the bag. It's a full count to Christian Scott. Sakane delivers the payoff pitch. It misses low and outside. Scott just tosses the bat, does a little shrug, and heads down towards first base. So 2 runners on here with 1 down in the home half of the 3rd inning, and that'll bring up Anthony Forte for the 3rd time today.
Now batting for the Saints.
Forte 2 for 2 on the day. He has singled twice, and both of those served as leadoff singles. So we'll see what he can do not starting an inning. As he steps up to the plate, a runner in scoring position, 2 runners on total though. McCarthy on second, Scott on first base, Sakane on the mound. First pitch to Forte. He swings, lines this one deep left center field. Tracking back is Williams Jr. He will look up, jump. This one bounces off the wall, tears down a banner in left center field. McCarthy rounds third, comes home to score. Scott's going to have to stand over there at second base as he was trying to judge the fly ball. Williams Jr. a little shaken up out there in center field, has to fetch his hat. As he jumped to try and make the grab, he ripped the string or whatever it is that's holding up the banner out there in left center field. So now the insignia on the right side of the banner is hidden. Luckily for the Saints, there's 3 other insignias very visible out there in center field.
The thing about that, it's probably one of the longest singles that I have seen.
Yeah, that is probably the longest single I have seen, as Forte gets yet another single to move to 3 for 3 on the day. Allen, first pitch swinging, pops this one up behind first base. Tracking over is the second baseman, Eddie Davis. He makes the grab for out number 2.
And not only is Forte 3 for 3, but he's 3 for 3 in 3 innings.
3 for 3 in 3 innings with 3 singles. So when you talk about consistency, right now the man to look towards is Anthony Forte. That brings up Drew Cowley, though, who is 0 for 2 through 2 innings. Now he's in his 3rd at-bat in the 3rd inning. He flew out to left in the 1st, popped out to the 3rd baseman in the 2nd. Now the first pitch to him in the 3rd inning from Sakane. He watches miss low and outside for ball 1. You know, I can think of a longer single. When Manny Machado was on the Dodgers, I remember he hit one off the wall that he thought was gone, and he didn't hustle down towards first base. I'm not a Dodgers fan, but I remember that very vividly because my roommate is a diehard Dodgers fan. And for the rest of his time with the Dodgers, the rest of his tenure with the Dodgers, my roommate despised Manny Machado after that.
Yeah, he had quite a few moments with the Dodgers where he was not hustling. And
that was just one of them.
I'm also not a Dodger fan.
As the 1-1 hops past Shanks behind the plate. Scott rounds 3rd, takes about 5 steps, and will head back towards the bag. Both runners advance, so Forte standing on second base, Scott on 3rd. Still 2 outs here in the home half of the 3rd inning. Score is 7-1 in favor of the Saints.
And so I'm not a Dodger fan. Anytime I saw one of those times where he was jogging down the line and stuff, it made me angry as a baseball fan.
And especially as someone who's played baseball and had their coaches yelling at you always to hustle and always run it out. See that from major league players, it can kind of make it hard to stay motivated to continue doing that.
And I think what made it worse was when he made the comment that he's not your Johnny Hustle type of player.
Either way, his tenure in Los Angeles is done. He signed a quite lucrative contract down in San Diego. As the 2-2 to Cowley misses high and outside for ball 3. So it's a full count now to the shortstop for the Saints. Sakane trying desperately to get out of this inning without allowing any more damage to occur. 7-1 line straight back. That one would have hit our media intern, Rebecca Williamson. She's been a little bit of a ball magnet this summer. She's been hit by 2 line drives, one in batting practice, and one was, I believe it was the first week of the season, a line drive into the Saints dugout. She was over there trying to do her job and took it to the side, as that one's a ground ball over to Pollock over there at third base. Throws across the diamond in time for out number 3. And Cowley moves to 0 for 3 on the day, leaves 2 men on. But it doesn't matter as the Saints tack on 2 to their score and have a 7-1 lead as we head to the top half of the 4th inning. Don't go anywhere. You listen to Saints Baseball on YouTube Live, the broadcast home of Arroyo Seco Baseball. Logan Pollock leading things off for the Barons here in the top half of the 4th inning. They find themselves trailing by 6 runs. The Barons put 1 up in the 1st inning and since then have left 2 runners standing on second base. Garza still in the game for the Saints. This is his 4th inning of work. First pitch to Pollock misses for ball 1. The 1-0 chopped over the head of Garza. Allen fields it, but not in time as he had to make an across-the-body throw over to Durkee. So didn't have quite enough power as Durkee came off the bag and just kind of fielded it like it was a routine ground ball to him. So Pollock is on board with a leadoff single. And that is the 2nd time the Barons have had a leadoff man aboard. The first time, the leadoff man came around to score. So we'll see if that trend continues for the Barons, if they can put a crooked number up there on the scoreboard as opposed to just seeing that lonely 1 in their run column. And Jalen Hurd, the first baseman, comes up to the plate. Hurd 0 for 1 on the day. He grounded out to second base in his first at-bat. Ground ball to a middle infielder right now. Could mean 2, though.
First baseman, number 39.
Now, going back to that Logan Pollock single, it was a broken bat chopper up the middle. So really, Allen, the best he could do was keep it in the infield. Not that Pollock would have gotten any extra base, but broken bat is just too soft hit of a ball that Allen would be able to really have any play.
So the first pitch to Hurd is low and inside in the dirt for ball 1. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than, well, I don't want to say lucky than skilled, because obviously Pollock is extremely talented. But he was very lucky there with the bounce off that broken bat single. So he's on board. The 1-0 to Hurd finds the strike zone. It was a fastball on the outside part of the plate. So the count's even at 1 now.
That was pretty much like the game on Tuesday against the Foresters.
As this one's grounded in the hole between first and second base. Pollock was being yelled at by his dugout to try and round second and head towards third, but he stays put over there at second base, follows the orders of his third base coach as Hurd gets a single, drives it into right field, and now there's 2 runners aboard with no one out here in the top half of the 4th inning.
So in Tuesday's game against the Foresters, there were 6 runs that were scored in the top of the 1st by Santa Barbara, and it came on 7 hits, all of which were singles, and I believe 5 of them were all looping liners into the outfield. A really unfortunate start for Alex Cornwell on Tuesday.
Those are always the most frustrating as well. Just little seeing eye base hits. As the first pitch to Shanks misses for ball 1. Garza showing some signs of slowing down here in the 4th inning.
Because as a pitcher, when there's weak contact, you know that you did your job. But when they just keep finding little spots in the outfield or just past the outstretched gloves of different infielders, it gets frustrating.
The 1-0 was fouled off of the chest guard of McCarthy. As the count moves to 1-1. Shanks swings at the 1-1, fouls it straight back, and now the count moves to 1-2. McCarthy fields that one off the bounce off the fence, barehanded, hands it over to the umpire, and the umpire tosses it aside towards the Saints the Saints dugout. Throws a fresh ball out there to Michael Garza on the mound, and the count is 1-2 to the catcher for the Barons, Jacob Shanks. Garza delivers, lined right at Cowley at short, throws over to second base, and that's a double play as Cowley fielded the line drive, and Morgan Allen on his toes was able to get over there and cover second base before Pollock was able to get back to second. So now 2 down, runner on first base. That runner is Jalen Hurd. And that brings up Marcus Johnson, the right fielder.
Great heads-up play from Cowley to recognize that Pollock did not have a good read off that. He'd take a couple steps towards third base when in reality you should either be freezing or kind of leaning back towards the base on a line drive, especially in the infield. And that quick turnaround and toss to Allen doubles him up.
First pitch to Johnson. Gets him down 0-1 in the count. Now the 0-1 from Garza, swung on and missed. Throw down to first base. Durkee catches it before it flies into right field. Hurd slides back into first base safely. Gets a little giggle from his teammates in the dugout. But it's an 0-2 count now to Marcus Johnson, the right fielder, who had an 0-2 count in the second inning and then proceeded to double on the next pitch. This time he watches the 0-2 miss outside for ball one. The national anthem standoff is still going on, at least for one team. I can't quite see if the Saints still have a player. It looks like it's Hayden Harris standing up down there, still participating as the 1-2 is watched in the dirt for ball two. So one player standing with their hat over their heart still here in the fourth inning, and the national anthem standoff has really taken off all over the nation in summer college baseball. I've seen tons of videos of players in the Cape League doing it. We, of course, saw what happened on Thursday's game as the 2-2 is taken for strike three. Johnson goes down looking, and that goes from a threatening inning for the Barons to a 0 spot in the fourth. So we'll head to the home half of the fourth inning. 7-1 is the score in favor of the Saints. Don't go anywhere. You listen to Saints Baseball on YouTube Live, the broadcast home of Arroyo Seco Baseball. Home half of the fourth inning here at Jackie Robinson Memorial Field. Thomas Lovano stepping up to the plate to lead things off for the Saints, who have a 7-1 lead over the Academy Barons. New pitcher on the mound for them. Julian Jackson takes over for Yuji Sakane. Sakane went 1 2/3, gave up 3 hits, 2 runs, both of them earned, and walked 1. First pitch to Lovano missed for ball 1. Now the 1-0 misses outside for ball 2. Lovano 1 for 2 on the day. He had a 2 RBI double in the first inning. And then in the second, grounded out to first base. As the 2-0 finds the strike zone, Jackson likes to work quickly out there on the mound, not wasting a whole lot of time.
Jackson on the mound making his 7th appearance on the season. 21 innings, 12 earned runs. That's a 4.95 ERA. Has struck out 18 batters, surrendered 19 hits, and has also walked 20 batters. So while he does have that punch-out pitch working for him, also struggles with his command a bit.
2-2, breaking ball, chopped foul down the third baseline, and Pollock will go over there and collect it. Lovano jogging all the way down to first base. Will have to retrace his steps, head back home. Jackson looks like a tall figure out there on the mound, listed at 6'2", out of Eastern Kentucky University. 19-year-old. Just a little over a month away from turning the big 2-0. He's got a 2-2 count right now to Thomas Lovano. Lovano, the senior, playing for University of San Diego, pops the 2-2 up behind the bag at first base. Davis tracking over it, called off by the right fielder, and Johnson drops it. So Lovano reaches base after Johnson doesn't come away with the fly ball. And I think he got a piece of it, though, which makes that an E9. So leadoff man is aboard for the Saints. That'll bring up Pete Durkee. 7-1 the score in favor of the Saints, and that is actually the first error of the game charged to the Barons, if I'm not mistaken. So things not necessarily fully clicking for the Barons as leadoff man aboard in unorthodox fashion for the Saints. Now first pitch to Durkee, high and outside for ball 1.
And the explanation I would have for that error is, speaking from experience in the outfield, you're racing in to try and make that catch, and as you're trying to slow down, sometimes you might have a little bit of heavy feet and your head kind of starts to shake, and sometimes it just, as your head's shaking, the ball's shaking in your vision, and just kind of reach up and miss it.
And sometimes when the balls hit that direction behind a bag, there's a weird tail to it as well. I only played one season at second base, but I struggled greatly trying to make the grabs on pop-ups behind first base. And when my coaches asked me why it was such a challenge for me, granted, I made a majority of the plays, but usually they were in diving fashion or falling fashion because I couldn't quite figure out how to track the ball. When my coaches asked why it was such a struggle for me, I told them, well, why don't you put me back at first base and I'll be able to field them much easier. The 3-0 to Durkee finds the strike zone, 3-1. It's just an interesting angle you have to take at the ball when the ball's dropping right behind the bag, and that's why a lot of people refer to that as the Bermuda Triangle, as the 3-1 finds the strike zone on the outside part of the plate, 3-2. Or at least a lot of my coaches growing up referred to that as the Bermuda Triangle, because you get a lot of guys who will hustle around there, first base, right field, and second base, all hustle to get around it, and sometimes they don't all communicate too well. As the 3-2 is a chopper towards shortstop, picked up by Pollock as he comes across the diamond, fires across, and the throw is in time to get Durkee at first base. Lovano advances to second, though, and there's a runner in scoring position with one down here in the home half of the fourth. But sometimes when all three players get out there, they're all expecting one of the other guys to call for the ball, and then they just stand there and watch it drop. So a lot of balls get lost out there in the Bermuda Triangle right behind the bags, and that's, I said unorthodox fashion, but that's not too uncommon of an error to see occur.
And it's tough because the outfielder running in typically has an easier play as they're coming in on the ball. But the second baseman and the first baseman on those, they're closer to it. But again, it's harder because they're trying to look at the pop-up as they're running back. And then what happens is they look and they all see each other standing there and then frozen.
And it happens at all levels. It happens a lot in the major league level. So if it happens with professionals who are getting paid a lot of money to play the game, you'll see it happen at the collegiate level. 1-0 misses low for ball 2. So Gonzalez has a 2-0 count at the plate. He's 1 for 1 of the day. He walked on a 3-1 pitch in the first inning, came around to score the 4th run of the game for the Saints. And then he hit a solo shot to lead things off in the 3rd. Now he's got a 2-0 count. Jackson delivers. Breaking ball, misses inside for ball 3. And Gonzalez is a pitch away from drawing his second walk of the game.
I just got to point it out. Jason Gonzalez, his cleats they look awesome. Playing at Vanderbilt, their color is gold. So he's got white Adidas cleats with gold accenting. And it does work out because the Saints, their secondary color is gold, and it fits, and it looks real nice.
It definitely fits the uniform better than some of the other guys' cleats who wear their school colors on their feet. He draws the 4-pitch walk, and that's his second walk of the game. They'll bring up Evan Russell with 2 men on, runners on first and second. Only 1 out here in the home half of the 4th inning. Evan Russell 1 for 2 on the day, 2 RBI double in the first, and a ground out to Pollock over there at third base in the third. First pitch to him misses high and outside for ball 1. Jackson delivers the 1-0 high for ball 2. And now Shanks is going to call timeout and jog out to have a chat with his pitcher, and I can't necessarily blame him. That is 6 straight pitches that have missed the strike zone. An interesting thing about Jackson on the mound, I'm not sure if this is by choice, by comfort, or if they just don't have pants long enough to fit his legs. He's wearing the pants that usually you see players wear down to their ankles, but you know, he's so tall, such a big guy, that the pants end about 2 inches above his ankles. Show off the blue socks as the 2-0 is lined into left field. It'll drop right in front of the left fielder. Lovano's going to be held at third. He made sure to touch the bag this time. Bases are now loaded with 1 down, and that'll bring up Thomas McCarthy, the catcher for the Saints. He's 2 for 2 on the day with 2 singles. We're going to see what he can do in his third at bat. Base is jammed, only 1 down here in the home half of the 4th, and the Saints have a serious chance to add on to their lead. They already have a 6-run lead. But before we see McCarthy's at bat, we're going to get a quick timeout from the Academy Barons. Now, it's interesting to see the Barons pitchers have really struggled to find the strike zone. And at first I was giving the benefit of the doubt due to the sun. Because the sun can be brutal. The sun can be extremely brutal on opposing pitchers because the Saints, they get to play here, I don't want to say every day, but they get to play here a lot more often than any other visiting team. The most a visiting team gets to play here 4 times in a season, right? The Saints get to play here, well, let me actually tell you the amount of times they played here. They played here 17 times already. So they're used to this. They figured out the sun. But the sun is now set so low that it's no longer affecting anyone in the field. You can kind of see the sun touching the tops of the trees, the tops of the canopy out there in center field. But the rest of the field in shadow as the first pitch to McCarthy misses for ball 1. I really wonder what is going on with the Barons pitching staff right now, why they can't seem to find the strike zone. And as I say that, Jackson finds the strike zone. But that was his first, I don't want to say first strike. It was, he threw 6 balls in a row, and then the next pitch was a single to left field. Then he threw another ball to start off the at-bat to McCarthy, found the strike zone, and now throws another one, so it's a 2-1 count. The 2-1 low, bounces. Shanks does a good job to keep it in front, and the count moves to 3-1. So once again, Jackson struggling to find the strike zone.
That was Jackson's 23rd pitch of his appearance. Only 9 have been in the strike zone.
And that's been a consistent struggle for all the Barons pitchers that have pitched so far today. McCarthy helps him out a little bit there, chasing at the high one. Shows a little frustration as he walks out of the box, steps back in now with a full count.
And that was something I did say when Jackson came in 21 innings, had walked 20 batters.
That time McCarthy doesn't swing. He watches that one miss about a foot outside for ball 4. Lovano comes home to score, and the score moves to 8-1 after McCarthy walks on the full count pitch, and that'll bring up Christian Scott, the center fielder.
Now batting for the Saints, center fielder.
So Christian Scott 0 for 1 on the day. He's had 2 plate appearances, only 1 at bat. He flew out to left field in the first inning to end the first. And then he walked in the third, was stranded on third base. As the first pitch to him misses for ball 1. 1-0 misses as well, so it's 2-0. If you include the hit by pitch, there have been 5 free bases issued by the Barons pitchers. 4 walks, 1 hit by pitch. That was Morgan Allen getting hit in the first inning. So 5 free bags issued. The Barons in danger of issuing another one as the count moves to 3-0 to Christian Scott, the center fielder. And Scott just really wants to see a strike to hit. He was frustrated in his last at-bat when he didn't see one to hit. Had to jog back down there to first base. Now the 3-0 from Jackson. He'll watch that one catch the bottom part of the strike zone. And Jackson finds the strike zone finally. Moves the count to 3-1.
You mentioned the 5 free bases. The Saints have taken advantage of all of those so far.
Scott lines that one foul down the left field line, so it's a full count now. Second straight full count, 3rd full count of the inning. Durkee had one, he was retired. McCarthy had one, he walked, and now Scott has one. He lines it into center field. Coming forward and not making the grab is Williams Jr. Coming home to score is Gonzalez. As that is a base hit. I'm going to say base hit because the center fielder had to try and dive to make the grab. Gonzalez comes home to score. RBI single off the bat of Christian Scott. And that'll move things over to the top half of the order. Anthony Forte gets to have his 4th at-bat in the 4th inning.
Now the question is, can he make him 4 for 4 with 4 singles?
We'll certainly find out. By the way, that is actually not Williams Jr. in center field. That is Christian Potch. First pitch swinging is Forte. Grounder over towards first base. Bobbling it a little bit at first was Hurd, but he was able to recover, pick it up, step on the bag. A run comes home to score, though, so the score moves to 10-1 in favor of the Saints with 2 down here in the home half of the first. And Forte is retired for the very first time of the evening.
And Hurd at first, he was looking to turn 2 on that one. He wanted to come home with the ground ball and then hopefully have a chance of doubling Forte on the throw back to first, but he was really trying to throw the ball before he had it, and that's why he only had to get 1.
First pitch swinging is Allen. He lines this one into right field. Going over and getting underneath it is Johnson, and that's out number 3. But the Saints add on 3 more and make it 10-1. Real quick, I just want to make sure I finish off informing you guys. Williams Jr. exited the game. Standing in center field now for the Barons is Christian Poach. So that is a substitution that was made in that inning. Either way, the score now is 10-1 as we head to the top half of the 5th inning. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back for that. You're listening to Saints Baseball on YouTube Live, the broadcast home of Arroyo Seco Baseball. Leading things off for the Barons, Sean Blandino, the left fielder. First pitch swinging, pops this one up out of play over the fence behind him, and count moves to 0-1. Garza out there for his 5th inning of work. Garza giving up 1 run, but it was unearned. Came home to score. It was an error by Gonzalez, the very first batter of the game.
That's what I sit here and think about is like if this ball hits
Now 0-1, misses outside for ball one. Blandino had a 3-1 count on him in his last at-bat. Then he grounded out to shortstop. That's his only at-bat on the day. So he's 0 for 1 entering this one, and now he's got a 1-2 count. Garza 1 pitch away from making him 0 for 2. The standings right now, I know we mentioned the Saints are playoff bound as the 1-2 misses low and outside for ball 2. Santa Barbara Foresters are sitting in first place, 24-7 in CCL play. Riptide 19-12 in second. And the Saints are 16-15 tied for third. They're technically occupying that fourth spot because the Blues have the tiebreaker over them, but because, as I've mentioned, the Blues will not be going to the playoffs as of scheduling choice. The Saints will be going to the playoffs as that third team. They're 16-15 right now. They are 3 games behind the Riptide, so a win here could do wonders to getting the home field advantage. Well, even though all the games will be played at the same field. Blandino watches the 3-2 find the strike zone, so he goes down looking. And that'll bring up Eddie Davis with 1 down here in the top half of the 5th inning. But even though it's not going to really be home field advantage, because all the games are played, if I'm not mistaken, out in Cal Lutheran, the home field of where the Conejo Oaks play. Granted, the Oaks will not be in the playoffs. I believe being the home team is going to help. It's got to help at least a little bit. So the Saints getting a win, if they can hold on, to this 10-1 lead right now. If they come away with a win here, they could chip away at that lead that the Riptide have over them. Now this one's popped over towards second base. Allen catches it and retires Eddie Davis, who swung at an 0-1 pitch. And that brings up Trent Anderson, who is 0 for 2 on the day, reached on an error in the first inning, came home to score. That's the only run of the game for the Barons. He lined out to the shortstop, Drew Cowley, in the 3rd inning. So this is 3rd at-bat. But as I was saying, the Riptide are pretty close to being clinched into that 2nd spot. Unless the Foresters absolutely collapse and the Riptide win out, the Foresters will win the league in regulation, or in the regular season, I should say, leaving the Riptide and the Saints to battle it out for who is 2nd place. Garza got a strike on the first pitch to Anderson and counters that with yet another one. So it's 0-2 now to the designated hitter for the Barons. The 0-2 from Garza swung on and missed. Anderson goes down swinging, and the Barons go down in order as we'll head to the home half of the 5th inning. When we get there, my partner Mitch LaFave will take over on play-by-play duties, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Don't go anywhere. You listen to Saints Baseball on YouTube Live, the broadcast home of Arroyo Seco Baseball.
Bottom of the 5th inning here at Jackie Robinson Memorial Field. Saints with a 10-1 lead. Drew Cowley, the man in the box, to face Jaron Jackson. He's out for his 2nd inning of work. First pitch is a fastball in the dirt. It's not something that we have not seen so far from Jackson. He's really had his struggles finding the strike zone as that fastball misses outside 2-0 to Cowley.
An interesting thing to see, if you're familiar with how a scorecard or a scorebook looks for baseball.
Fly ball out into left center field. Tracking back is Poach. He is at the track and reaches up and makes the grab for a loud first out of the inning.
If you're familiar with how a scorebook looks for baseball, right? You got the 9 boxes going down, and then the boxes continue. They've got first inning, second inning, third inning, fourth inning, going from left to right, right? Before the 5th inning, right? So if you're just looking at the first 4 innings, there are only 7 open boxes.
It's been a solid offensive performance for the Saints, to say the least. His first pitch into Thomas Lovano misses wide for ball 1. When we mentioned Anthony Forte has had 4 at-bats in the first 4 innings.
And this is Lovano's 4th.